buying to rent them kakaba 2 year kwaimu Ukraine, Russia, war, COVID. Am I into 2 year day? I call from am I opposition? Who is Argentino? Am I 1 day a day? I call through. I'm saying, let's say, you're possible to know. A Biden Shishaye Gukwemu, dollar every 17, about 10, petrol every 17, about 9, and never in air confirm economy. It is possible, it is possible, it is possible. And I know my dream say, time will not near my work from law. Time no near better. I mean, check on my ball, Chasing region ball. Every June, July this year. I am a 4 Ababe Soya Sene. Yeah, 2 years, I call you a economy Nepeja. Yeah, 2 years, I call you a Madola Nepeja. Yeah, 2 years, I call you a Fumu Yami. Yeah, 2 years, I call you a Benro Channel. And you see, Ebegu. Now, say, what do you imagine say? What did you Patapa? Any question, about the year 2024 now. The veterans say we have the band. The veterans say we have the band. We have the band. Say about MPP party, I about Ben. See about the platform. So me and the power. I'm my NDC. Esida. A quite be I about 2024 election. No MPP
It's a bad statement because when it happens, so the other opponent to or the NDC people to be thinking other different, or they will be making sure say they'll be plotting something bad ahead this election will be having. So for me, I think that what BRYAN the champion did or what BRYAN the champion said was a bad statement.
But comment now, man in the say I Ghana tells say come more there. Minim say Kufo ane Rollins Coy no Owini anokwa na soja ban but ofrisu ama ko fe ba BBNC. Now why not say MPP nkwan de ebedu say mama ana say adokofo ene benya wo ye nipa kro ba wi ni sa nipa na wi ni a adentina omo nsore mfrisu.
Not in support of it though, but it may be true because me like this, I don't have a party that I'm supporting, so anything can happen. So whatever happens, we are in it.
You will be an adventure, and then baby, and I see, and then reality on my mono. A man paying for our mabena, minimum say, will be up a sort of etche, and now quite in the tree janeba. Who could see Diane, and now we are Jeopardy, a bit me Eddie Bia Yauba. Minimum says sanity. Na se amamburu no ehwokyere oma le okan entimi mbamusa nemo omonwe ye ho se ye nyina ye ho beto ye.
So what he really talk is very terrible, which can bring a civil war if the peace council and all stakeholders who are supposed to have intake on it don't call them to order. That's what I can think they should be. And they should be arrested by the police by now because it shouldn't be working. Because
no, dear, also just say, SMPP are buying also. Nemo no demand that Timemufo no a demand no. I don't know, and we hear no. Set Timemufo who chilwomu, set Timemufo who chilwomu, and Fano. And John de Wakana Boss was a dear Yenina, your hoyer. Say 2020 we no be do. Now about what time no be do. Na ya hwe so mbe break 8 ana say omum break 8 na ndom omum kozo an omunye didi ye de ye hwe omum.
For me, it doesn't lie in his mouth to make that statement because there are factors that influence voter choices, and it's not what he is saying. It is by dint of hard work. And first and foremost is the economy. Have they improved the economy that they want the mandate to be renewed? Have they built infrastructure which also determine voter choices? Have they also work against corruption? These are some of the issues that will come up. So as to whether we will not leave power or hold on to power, the reality will dawn on them when you go to the vote and the polls and the people vote against you. Then would you say you won't hand over power? The people's power is the power we are talking about, not any other individual. So for me, I take it as one of the veiled statements. It doesn't carry any weight. They can make the comment, they can make whatever comment, but the people will vote, and they vote based on their conscience, what they have experienced, how they feel within the economy, and all that. I mean, we have seen Rollins' time. What type of statement didn't Rollins come out with in 2000 and thereabouts? But when they lost the election, they lost big time, and you have no choice than to hand over power.
The NDC's petition to the police for the arrest of, BRYAN ACHEAMPONG. And with this political mess that has been infused into this matter, I'm not sure anything fruitful is going to come out of it. But going forward, I think we need to isolate politics from issues that has the potential of marring our democracy. It undermines state institutions, it undermines the rule of law. And already this is on the heel of a report, a 2022 report by the US on Ghana on human rights that talks, that I find very, very damning. And a lot of it has to do with our democracy, including the 8 persons who were killed during the last election, and nobody seemed to be held accountable over it. So the fear is this might become widespread. This might open the floodgates. Anyone can say anything, and looking at IGP Dan Paris' face to see whether he would make a move or not. Because if the big fishes do it and you don't do anything about it, then obviously others would also do it, expecting that nothing would be done to them as well. On the face value is how 99% of your followers will see it. For you and I, who are perhaps more enlightened, we are scientific in our analysis of issues, we might go like, oh, okay, he's just saying this for a purpose, okay?
Right.
But for 99% others, do or die means do or die.
Addressing party delegates in Katamanso as part of his 3-day tour of the Eastern region, former President Mahama urged the delegates to vote him as flag bearer of the party. He said the Akufo-Addo-led government have destroyed Ghana's economy.
Because they've damaged the economy so badly, we can project that by the time we come in 2025, things will still not be as easy as one would have expected. The people of Ghana tried them by voting for them. They said they should try them. Somishe, try me and see. And that was the mistake the people of Ghana made. Because we have come to realize that after all, we have the men. It was station boys. They don't know anything. If you take our ministers who were running this country in 2016 and compare with their ministers who are running Ghana today, pound for pound, our ministers were far better than any of them.
He urged President Akufo-Addo to take responsibility for the country's economic downturn.
And instead of accepting responsibility, they will blame everybody other than themselves. So tomorrow is COVID-19 disease. The next day is Russia-Ukraine war. The following day they say money doesn't like noise. We are making too much noise. And that is because they can't take any responsibility. It's always looking for somebody to blame. And as a leader, once you can't take responsibility, you cannot solve the problems. And so the people of Ghana, that's why they're bringing us these stones and rocks. Wherever I go, they bring us rocks.
He added a new NDC government will continue the project started by the Akufo-Addo-led administration to avoid wasting the resources that comes with starting new projects.
All right, so that's the background, or there's a backdrop to our next conversation. It has to do with what BRYAN ACHEAMPONG said, MP for Abetifi and also Minister for Food and Agriculture, where he made some comments to the effect that the MPP will not hand over power to the NDC, and that in itself has triggered all kinds of reactions amongst a section of Ghanaians who have attacked and lampooned and lambasted for making those comments. The NDC has sent a petition. In fact, they have filed a criminal complaint against the MP over his recent comments. The party deems as inflammatory and inciting possible electoral violence. The petition, as I did, follows a statement he made, and it's been addressed to the Director of Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service, with the petitioner being Abraham Amaliba, who's the NDC's Director of Legal Affairs. The petition also cites the tendency of a statement as that of the MP, who is also the Agric Minister, to trigger political violence and civil unrest. The MPP has also done same. They are asking the police CID to invite the former President John Dramani Mahama for saying that the NDC would win the 2024 elections, and that it's the 2024 elections a do or die affair for the party. Now, let's listen to the former president's do or die bite, and then we'll come to a private legal practitioner.
Abato ebe 2024 abato ye ni agro. Enti na me say do or die. Enti na me say do or die. Na me ka do or die ebi no atweste no. I say ye the engine and sekan ekodwudwan nipa ni ade debi. Enye do or die no. Do or die kyerɛ sɛ ɛyɛ bibi ehia paa si edi nkunimom enti yɛn fa ndi agro saa na do or die kyerɛ ɛkyerɛ sɛ yɛde nsekan ne nkontiba bɛkɔ akɔ boroboro nkrɔfo enso me ogidi sɛ yɛn nyinaa ehu nea ɛkɔ enti me kasa bebree ebi sɛ yɛasetena ya ɛna yɛnim yɛasetena anopa me be a radio na obi kasa kra say economy na say a change your mama breso o say nyoma say kra a change abra NDC wo ho and I'm say jama ono onti o maimu ha Ebi o free baby na buy 2016 yan ka say bibia ye o and so 2016 abra NDC wa ban mu na ye ho ton incompetent Mahama administration and this MPP is going to come and transform Ghana in 1.5 years. When we come, we'll give you one district, one factory.
All right. So, sorry about that. So that's the former president, John Dramani Mahama. This was where he was talking about the do or die. He made a do or die comment. He made some other platform, but this is what we have, and that's what we'll just show to you. So, joining us in the studio to give us some legal perspectives to this, and because some have asked whether there's actually any legal basis for the police to invite either BRYAN ACHEAMPONG or the former president, John Dramani Mahama. So, lawyer Randolph Chumesi-Ankara is with us here to share some legal perspectives on this matter. And then the two politicians, that's Bichis Annan and Saka Saleh, will give us his take on BRYAN ACHEAMPONG. So, Randolph, good to see you. Good morning. How are you? Yeah. Well, I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine, thank you, boss. When you heard about these complaints that had been filed, please put your microphone on. You were off. Yes. Good morning once again. It's good to see you. Right. And when you heard about these complaints, that the fact that the NPP had filed a complaint, first of all, it was the NDC that filed a complaint at the CID for criminal complaint, actually, at the CID for BRYAN ACHEAMPONG to be invited and possibly prosecuted. And then you had the NPP do same. What does the law say? Are these two actions grounded in law from where you sit?
Well, Moro, first and foremost, I would want to say that under the Constitution,
okay,
every citizen has a duty to uphold the law. And we all have a duty to protect the sanctity of our democracy as well as our security.
Okay.
So, as a citizen, if you are convinced that someone has committed an offense or someone has engaged in a conduct that is capable of founding a criminal prosecution, you are at liberty to bring it to the notice of the police for investigation, and the police will make a determination whether there's enough evidence or otherwise to prosecute. So clearly, filing complaints with the police, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you lodge complaints. Your duty is to just inform the police. Complaints should just be seen as an information given to the police. So if you inform the police, it's up to the police to follow up, do their investigations, and after they've done all their investigations, if they believe that there's enough evidence to prosecute or to take the next step, then they are at liberty to do that based on the advice of the Attorney General or otherwise. So clearly, the steps taken by NDC on the 11th of April 2023 and the step taken by NPP on the 12th of April 2023, both of them will be well situated in the law. It's a duty that they believe possibly they are discharging as entities or as corporate persons, because I say corporate persons because NDC filed the complaint and then NPP also filed a complaint. So they are corporate persons and they've lodged complaints in performance of their constitutional duties.
We will show the NDC that we have the men if they want to intimidate, harass us, or do anything foolish. And you know, viewers should pardon me, my language. Do anything foolish during the 2024 elections. It will not happen that we will hand over power to the NDC. We will use any means for the MPP to stay in power. What do you make of this statement? And is it a prosecutable statement, for want of a better word?
Well, to determine whether or not it's a statement that can be situated within a criminal conduct, you have to possibly scan through the criminal laws of our land. And the closest that comes to it will be Section 207, which is offensive conduct conducive to the breach of the peace. And that provision essentially says that if you engage in a conduct or make statements that are threatening, or that are threatening, abusive, and you do them with intent to breach the peace, or a breach of the peace. So even if your intention is not to bring about a breach of peace, but if there's a likelihood of a breach of the peace occurring, then it can be founded within that particular provision. Now, the statement that the Honorable Minister made, which I'm being called upon to comment on, he said that the part that ticks for me is that they will deploy all means to remain in power. I mean, you should know that going into the election 2024, there are two main political parties, and it is a do-or-die affair for both of them. The NPP wants to remain in power to break the 8, because for them, breaking the 8 is a do-or-die, and it's do-or-die because they want to set a new record. And the NDC also sees it as a do-or-die because possibly SJM's final shot at it. So now the question is, if I am going into a race with you, and you make a statement that you deploy all means to ensure that you remain in power, as an opponent, I'll feel threatened. Then it goes to show more or less that regardless of whatever efforts I may put in, you also have a different effort. I don't know whether the all means is all means legitimate or all means illegitimate. So because we don't have that context and he didn't go further to give us the benefit of that, we are allowed to make inferences based on either previous conduct or previous behavior, previous trends of the person making the statement. So now, on the 11th, you notice that the NDC feeling threatened lodged a complaint. And in the complaint, they made reference to a previous statement or a previous conduct of the Honorable Minister. So clearly, from the NDC's perspective, the minister, having regard to possibly a record of his and a finding made against him, makes his statement carry a lot of weight. So clearly, there's a clear likelihood on the part of the NDC, or the NDC believes that this statement, if not addressed, can occasion a breach of the peace. Because if I go into the election
and I believe that I have done whatever it is, and the electorates have voted for me, the slightest suspicion that something is happening will trigger my support base to counter.
Right.
Because you have made a statement that you deploy all means to remain in power. So even if whatever means you are resorting to is not one that ordinarily would have triggered such a reaction, because of that statement, the response to it will not be good, and it may end up occasioning some serious violence.
Okay.
But if the statement had not been made, then obviously, because in every election we have excesses, and sometimes based on the extent of it, we're able to sweep it under the carpet, reform, and move on. But if you are going into an election where clearly you have been told beforehand that these are the things that you should expect, I won't hand over. And you see, respectfully, like I stated, we all have a duty to uphold the law. And when you are taking office as a minister of state, you take the oath of office. And in that oath of office, you can infer an obligation imposed on you by the Constitution to uphold the Constitution itself. And the Constitution says that when you go into an election and the Electoral Commission declares a party as a winner, that's why we even have the Transitional Act. You are supposed to hand over. So if you make a statement that we will not hand over, that is a statement that clearly undermines the constitutional provision, your oath of office, and even the act that is in place that enjoins you to do what the law requires you to do.
Right.
So in my view, the report has been made to the police. We all don't have the investigative powers of the police. The police I believe they will do their investigations. And I believe that as a minister of state, he's a law-abiding citizen. Maybe the statements were made in jest, or maybe the statements were made like my honorable senior Ayikwe Otu once said in the Supreme Court that sometimes when you mount the political platform, it's like Beshi.
Right.
So maybe he was under the influence of Beshi. So when he meets the police, he will explain, and if the police, after their investigation, finds his statement to be credible threats to breach of peace, I'm sure they'll take the next steps and then prosecute. So, I mean, whatever has been done, the complaint filed signed by, what's his name? Abraham Amaliba is in order.
Okay.
At least we should actually applaud such statements because in some cases or in some other countries it would have become chaotic.
Right.
So at least if they have decided to resort to the legal processes and respect the institutions charged with the responsibility to do so and have filed a complaint, we should actually applaud it and leave the police. That's the way to go. We should applaud it and then leave the police to do their investigation. I'm praying that the Ghana Police Service will not be deterred or influenced by the personalities involved, but at least send a clear signal to the public that yes, regardless of whoever you are or your stature in society, when you engage in a conduct that we find has to have a factual basis for a criminal prosecution or criminal investigation, you'll be invited, we will call you, we'll take your statement. So in this case, we've invited this person, we've taken that, so that notion that some persons are above the law, at least will be whittled down small. And you also played the video of
the former president.
Former president, they do or die. In my submissions, I think I inadvertently or advertently made statements that it's a do or die. You know that I'm a football fan, even though I support AC Milan. You know that the Premier League, the English Premier League, there are two main title contenders. That's Arsenal and Manchester City. And my very good friend, Cledus Alenga, is an Arsenal fan. He will tell you that winning this league is a do or die affair. Doesn't necessarily mean that he's inciting violence. Do or die has necessarily become like a statement to urge supporters or to urge a fan base on to see how critical a particular task is, and to commit all your best resources to ensure that you get the optimum outcome out of it. So to say that, and I mean, when I was listening from behind the scenes and in the discussions on the IMF, one of the panelists, I don't know whether yourself, said that getting the IMF deal is a do or die affair.
Yeah, it is.
Why do you think it's a do or die affair? Because if you don't get it, the implications are enormous on the country. Do you get it? So if the former president says that winning the election 2024 is a do or die affair, clearly he is telling you that if the NDC doesn't win, the implications are enormous. So we have to win. We must commit all our best resources to it. If you ask me, is it similar or same to saying that I won't hand over power?
In your view, the two are not comparable.
No, I don't think they are. Honestly speaking, I don't think they are.
Let me come to Saka. Saka, I don't know how we're going to do this because, again, time will always not be our best friend. We've just got 8 minutes to leave here.
Wow.
Yes. But it's not a new topic, so I'm sure the public already knows your position and all of that. So maybe you have to say something a bit new. But how would you respond to civil society who say their comments were in bad taste and that BRYAN should retract? Do you agree with those who feel
I think the civil society will have to get the explanation well.
Okay.
And if they get the explanation, they will change their mind.
Right.
But the example he gave, I mean, if the same Arsenal and City supporter says that we will do everything possible to win the match, is it reasonable? It doesn't mean that the person is saying that we will go and then do illegal things to win the match. It's also urging the players. I mean, it's just showing that we are putting things in place in order to win the match.
Right.
Let me tell you, BRYAN ACHEAMPONG never said anywhere that if the NDC win the election, we will hand over power. He never said so. At West, what you can say is that, the statement looks or is pregnant with ambiguity.
Right.
And therefore, you need him to come clear, explain himself. If maybe that was a trajectory that the NDC is following, I wouldn't have problem with it. Because somebody has made a statement. The statement seemed to you ambiguous. Therefore, come and explain yourself. But they have already interpreted the statement.
Okay.
And they have already judged and gone to town and creating the impression, creating disaffection for BRYAN ACHEAMPONG and by extension the MPP.
Right.
Meanwhile, you see, it's like the pot calling the cattle black, or the cattle calling the pot black. Here is a group of people who have made grievous incendiary statements in the past. You just mentioned John Mama own. You see, when Nanadu made the All That Be That statement, all of us, I mean, we were all over the place telling them that this is a metaphorical statement. You cannot take it just by the face value. He was calling these people to defend the party.
Yeah.
The NDC said, no, it's calling people to violence. When John Mama made this statement, he said, there was this one there, just compare City and Manchester, Arsenal. The same people. You see, I am yet to hear anybody who understands English that will tell me that when somebody says, we will do everything, including sacrificing lives. If somebody can tell me that this is a metaphorical statement, then I will know who the person is.
All right.
This is just telling the people that we are going to be violent, especially when your mama had already made it clear that they are the most violent political party in the Fourth Republic. And then they collaborated that by saying that come 2024, they are going to sacrifice lives. And if you sacrifice lives, remember, the lead up to 2000 elections, when women were being killed here and there, and people said that they were ritual killings.
Unfortunately, we don't.
People said, let's investigate the NDC.
That's fine.
Now the chicken has come home to roost.
Okay, let me.
I said in Katia is confessing all over the place that they have been sacrificing lives.
Thank you. Saka.
Anytime. They are going
I'm sorry, I really wish we could go on, but I have just 4 minutes
you should
for.
Get him to retract this thing. No, you should.
No, please.
To retract what? You say you should get Asher to retract it.
No, but that's not true.
Is that what he's saying?
No, that's not true. That's not
true.
true.
What's
not true? Please retract it.
What is not true?
Just admits that he said no. That's
no, but he said that they will sacrifice lives.
Oh no, he didn't say that.
What did he say?
No, he didn't say that.
No,
Saka.
Tell me what he said.
He also said they'll do everything at all costs. So please,
He didn't say they will sacrifice lives.
Let's not deceive the public. I beg you. Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I don't want Saka.
Saka, please go ahead.
I don't want Saka to annoy me. First of all, he hasn't made any cogent point for me to respond to. I mean, those bandwagon, too quick arguments that the MPP have been bundling around. They don't even know their left from right. If they have any energy, they should channel it into solving the economic mess they've created. But let me say that BRYAN ACHEAMPONG is a coward. And I've said that BRYAN should not be misled. That merely because he was a cook in the army and went for a 6-week course gives him any military prowess. And so because you are a cook, you don't have the right to speak like the ingredients. He's just a reckless person. At the vetting, he could not tell Ghanaians what he would do to solve our agricultural mess. At a point, he was begging, Ato. He does not have that wisdom to solve the economic issue. He thinks that he can reduce it to the mess. And you see, in very serious jurisdiction, BRYAN will not be an MP. BRYAN is about the only politician who has been indicted by a commission of inquiry as a man who perpetuates violence. Please don't interact with me. I don't want
Saka,
to lose
please don't
my
do this
cool.
because
Please
she
don't
didn't
interact with me. I don't like that. And you have this person going out to chant such, excuse me to say, a very nonsensical statement that should not have any place in our democracy. And let me say that the MPP should take note. And I speak on authority, and I speak to all NDC members, that the NDC, we are not cowards. That the NDC, we've never been cowards. And in the lead up to the 2024 election, we will not be subjected or we will not be cowed into submission. We have seen the MPP before, we have matched them before, and so let them know that nobody will sit down and allow the MPP to chant such on serious statements that pretend as a threat to democracy, and we will watch them. In this election, like we've said, it's a do or die. We will match them boot for boot, and we will not be afraid. Okay. And they have given the excuse that, oh, it doesn't mean that they will not do you hand over power unless you've lost an election? Okay. Who wins an election and says, I want to hand over power? And so that statement is calculated to subvert the will of the people, and the people will do everything to uphold their will. Okay. The Kwewu that they went to, they saw the responses of the people. Their national security report is telling them that the government and the next government is the NDC, and they can do nothing about that.
Okay. All right, so I want to thank you very much for watching another edition of Inside Pages. I want to thank Beatrice Anand so very much for joining us. So with Saka Salia, thank you very much. And also Lawyer Rindolph Chumisi Yankra, thank you very much for joining us. And also Mr. Joe Jackson and Dr. Joseph Obeng of Guta. Thank you very much for watching another edition of Inside Pages. Unfortunately, I couldn't read your messages. I'm so sorry. Next week, Saturday, I will read them. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.